Welcome to Inside View. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and joining me today are two guests from the Small Business Development Center, Trudy Lackey and Nate McBride. Nate is from the Stockton office, and Trudy works with people in Calaveras County as well as Amador, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you both on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first, before we get into maybe a little bit more about you guys, because I want people to know who you are as people, not just your business face, just give me a quick summary of what the organization is and what the purpose is.
Small Business Development Centers are part of a national program or organization created by the Small Business Administration to provide business consulting and training to small businesses, to help people start businesses, to help them better manage and operate businesses.
And it's free and confidential.
It is. The consulting is free and confidential, and the training is either low cost or many times free.
So great resource that small business owners, or is it really any business owner or just the small that could tap into this? You're focusing on those smaller businesses?
Well, small is a relative term.
What is a small business?
At the federal level, it's a lot bigger than most people would think. But the federal definition is by number of employees for some industries, or average annual sales by other industries. And some of those are quite large, manufacturing, 500 employees or less.
Wow.
But the vast majority of our clients are more what most people would think, 50 or 100 employees or less, and even certainly smaller than that, only 2 or 3 employees. Even some people running just a business themselves, just the owner.
So it would be fair to say that the vast majority, if not all, businesses in Calaveras County would qualify for this.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any that would be considered big business by federal standards anyway.
Okay. Trudy, tell me about some of your history. Where did you grow up, and how did you make your way to Calaveras County, or are you a native?
No, I'm not a native. I actually was born and raised in New York.
In New York?
Yes, and I've made my way through a few different states, and then in California. And my late husband's mother lived in Hathaway Pines, and we started coming up to visit, and then eventually moved up. So we moved in 1992.
Oh, so you've
to
been
Calaveras
here
County.
for quite a while
I've been
now.
here for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
What drew you to this county other than the connection with family?
Well, like most people say, it's absolutely beautiful. And at the time, our son was about 10, and we just thought the environment for family would be fabulous, and it turned out to be. And so we also always had a lot of extended family, either living with us or visiting for long times. And my stepson also came and lived with us during that time. So it was just a great family environment. And we had our own small business, which I still carry on with at the time. And it was a business that we could do anywhere, like we were kind of talking about. And so we were able to bring our business up here and just get involved in the community, and here I am.
What are some of, or one of your favorite things about this county?
I love the people. It's just been a wonderful place for connections and friends and people, and it was a wonderful place for a family. And I do love the outdoors and gardening and hiking and all of those things, and so it's just a great place to be.
Good fit for sure.
It's a beautiful place.
Okay, Nate, you don't escape the question either. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in northern Utah, and went to college there. My wife, though, is a native of Stockton, and so we met in college and eventually got married and lived in Utah for a few years, but then a job opening came up, the Small Business Development Center they work at now. And so we moved back here for my wife in 1993, not too long after Trudy came this way.
Okay.
And we've been here ever since.
So what interested you specifically in that job opening, other than your wife had family here? Did you have a specific interest in this type of work?
Well, I actually started with the Small Business Development Center in Utah and worked there for a few years before a job opening came up here in my wife's hometown. And so
it worked out pretty well.
It did, yeah.
Okay.
The old joke is a happy wife makes a happy home, and that's been the case.
No, that's right. I'm recently married just in September of last year, and I have found that living by the happy life as a happy wife is true. No doubt about it. Okay, so in Stockton, now I have to say, Calaveras, residents don't always like to go down into Stockton.
That's true.
Now, no disrespect to the town or anything
None
like
taken.
that. But have you found that it's been a nice place to live for you personally?
Oh, I have, in part obviously because my wife and family are still there, but it's also true that, the Central Valley is close to a lot of things. You can get up here into the foothills or all the way to Tahoe if you want. You can be in the beach 2 hours, and so there's a lot of things to do. And I certainly, kind of like Trudy, have found that I've enjoyed living in Stockton. Some people may have slightly different views than that for different reasons, but for me and my family, it's been a great place to live.
Yeah, and I figured that there must be some very nice areas. Well, we probably just see all the bad news because that's what seems to sell, all the bad news.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. So you not only came from a different state to take this job, but you stayed with it for a long time. So there must be something about it that you like. So what are some things that you enjoy about your job?
Part of it is just there's quite a bit of diversity in the services we try to deliver and what we have to do every day. So because every business is a little unique and every business owner has a different skill set, the problems you try to help them solve or do better changes with every client and every meeting. So one minute it's a financial issue, the next minute it's a marketing issue, the next minute it's trying to get capital. So there's quite a bit of variety in it. But it's also just satisfying to be able to work with somebody and see the positive outcomes. Somebody starts their business, or they get the loan, or the marketing plan starts to work, and it's just a lot. It's fun to have a front row seat to see that.
Now, do you find that people kind of give you updates on how they're doing after they've gotten some help from you, Trudy?
Yeah, I do. I mean, especially because I live locally and I work with the local companies, so I'll see people or stop in their businesses and they'll just kind of update me, or I'll ask them, and it's nice to see that. It's nice to see them grow. Yeah.
Let me just give our viewers some basic job description. So if you were to kind of describe what you did, Trudy, how would you do that?
What I do now?
What you do now, yeah.
So I do business consulting. I meet one-on-one, sometimes one-on-two if it's, partners, but one-on-one to work on whatever issues the business owner has or to help them start their business. So very often, because it's a startup, I will work with writing a business plan. And we have a wonderful questionnaire that guides a person through all the things they will need to know to put together the business plan. And it includes a couple of financial worksheets, so they have the startup and the cash flow also to put into their business plan. So I do a lot of that, and that may take who knows how many sessions, and then I do quite a bit of marketing in this area, especially local marketing, because a lot of times people don't realize how much need there is for local marketing in these smaller areas and what possibilities there are for local marketing. So I do that, and I usually meet with the person. If they have a business, I will go to their business, or we'll meet in a neutral area, and pretty much, usually I meet with someone once a month. I might meet sooner if we're really working on something that's more pressing, but usually it's about once a month. And I meet for an hour or more, typically, with a client.
I want to revisit those and get a little more info, but before I do, I wanted to come over to you, Nate, and just get kind of a basic description of what you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do a little bit of consulting with businesses, so similar things to Trudy. Some of my areas of expertise or specialty have to do a lot with financial management and financing, so I may help businesses analyze the financial performance of their business. How are they doing 1 year to the next, 1 month to the next? How do they compare to how other businesses like theirs are performing? Or, are their sales per employee similar? Are their cost structures similar to other businesses like theirs, so they can look for ways to save money or change pricing or do other things that could help benefit their business financially? Or also work with a lot of clients who are trying to get financing and they're not sure if they could qualify for a loan, or could they get private investor money or some other source. And so it's work in helping them identify what those sources are, if they can qualify, and then go through the process of making a loan application or funding proposal application. So I do a little bit of that. I do some of our training workshops, startup workshops, or marketing or financial management workshops. and then also oversee all of our consultants and help them and provide support to them so they can deliver the services that they need to our clients.
And paint that picture again for me of there are different regions. You're in charge of a specific region. And what area does that cover?
Right. My center covers San Joaquin County, Calaveras, Amador, and Alpine counties. And so I have obviously several consultants in Stockton because that area is a little bit bigger. But I have Trudy that covers Calaveras County and does some work in Amador County. I have one guy that does a little bit of work when it comes to financing in Amador County that I can also turn to for help that's a little closer than Stockton.
So you have a valley and a mountain and foothill. You have the whole range, don't you?
Yeah, it's quite a long area. It's a little bit unusual to cover that big of an area for a center like mine, but
I imagine there would be some differences in how you would approach businesses in these different geographic regions. Is that
Sure.
what would be something that a Stockton business, how would that differentiate from a foothill business in Calaveras County? What would be different challenges that each of them would face?
Not that it's a lot different in California, but sometimes the bigger metropolitan area you get into, sometimes things like going through permit or regulatory issues might be a little more onerous in some cases and in certain industries.
In which place?
In a bigger metropolitan area.
Oh, in the Stockton. Okay. So we have it easier then, perhaps.
Well, in some respects, and part of it is just process. You know, if you go to a larger city, you may start with somebody at the permit center, and then you have to talk to the fire chief and and the sign person and all these different people and processes and departments. In smaller communities, that might be one or two people, and so it's easy to go have the cup of coffee and figure it all out and get it done, I think.
In Calaveras, we really only have one city, which is Angels Camp.
Right.
So otherwise, all the rest of the county is dealing with the county offices.
Right.
So that is a little simpler most of the time.
So county is a little easier than city by and large?
That's a generalized statement, but I would say that's fairly true.
Okay, I didn't realize that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In terms of a business plan, I've never started a business before. So if I were interested personally in starting something, what would be an abbreviated version of what I would need to put together for a business plan? Maybe you could help me out with this, Trudy.
Well, you want to start with what your experience is, what your skills are, maybe what your passion is. You want to look at your competition and your marketing area in general. You want to look at, do you have a target market, or are you more general? You want to look at who you're marketing to and that area. You need to look at the expenses to start it up, and how you're going to start it up, whether you need a physical location or just what you're going to do there. Even if you're not going for a loan, you want to look at what your cash flow is going to be for 6 months to a year down the road, so you know if it's viable. You may have other regulations, that you need to file in terms of permits, and as well as just getting the license. Then you want to look at how you're going to spread the word.
So in the marketing side
The
of
marketing
things?
side, and how you're going to develop your product, and maybe what the long-range plans are for your business. You might have, certain things just to get the doors open, but 3 to 5 years down the road, you're going to look at other things, and so you would put some of that into your business plan. What am I forgetting?
Well, just a couple things I frequently add to that conversation is when people usually start to find business plan information, it gets overwhelming, or can get overwhelming in a hurry, because it looks like they're trying to write a 50-page dissertation on business, and business plans don't have to be that long. And so a lot of the software or samples or things look a little intimidating at first, but I think Trudy gave a pretty good outline of what some of those core things are. Are there enough customers out there? How much do you have to sell to make money? How are you going to get customers? I mean, these are the key questions that business people have to try to figure out the best they can before they decide to dive in to make sure it's going to be a good investment, or that financially it has a good chance of being successful.
Do you ever have someone come in and say, I don't know what business I want to start, but I want to start a business, help me?
Occasionally.
Yeah,
But they usually have an idea.
usually.
Okay, I want to, so that my family grows grapes, I want to start a winery.
Right.
Something
Yes.
like that. How would I go about doing this in a smart way?
Yeah.
Right.
So then you might look at Murphy's, where there are a bunch of wineries, and look at the competition there, the big ones, the small ones, and then how am I going to pay for my grapes and for my winemaker and for bottling, all that.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like you're just trying to anticipate as much as you possibly can based on good factual information.
Exactly.
Okay.
And think about growth at the same time.
And think about growth. So you have to kind of stretch your imagination down the road, and where do I want to be in 5? How far do you go? 10 years? 3 years?
The farther down the road you get, the more generalized I think that planning becomes,
Okay.
because especially at the point of startup, you can, project or direct what you hope is going to happen, but until you start to sell and see what the market bears and what direction it really goes. I mean, a good person or a smart person is going to develop a business plan and then get started, and 6 months or a year in, maybe go back to that plan and even continue to go back it periodically to say, what did I think I would be able to do? What has actually happened? Why is it different? What ways is it different? And how do I need to adapt my plan now so I can still maximize what I can do, but be realistic in terms of what's happened?
So have you ever had someone do a business plan and you looked at it and you went, this is not going to work? I'm sorry.
Yes, but we try to be nice when we say that.
And then we work with them to make it work.
Okay.
I mean, it should be a working document, as they say. You shouldn't just write it and put it on the shelf, because you don't know what things are going to look like even after the first year. So you do try to keep up on it and keep working on it to make it change.
So to that point, I've started my winery and I'm a year in. Could I come back to you and say, I really need to take a hard look at what's going on here, and could I still get help from you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
About half of our clients historically have been people who are trying to start businesses, but half of them are people who are already in business. And so they are looking for, how can I improve how my business is doing? How can I get more business? How can I manage the money better? How can I hire the first employee? How do I plan for the expansion? I'm to a point where I need some more financing, and all those questions we try to help people with.
What's a common mistake that small business owners make?
Don't plan enough money.
Right. Undercapitalized is a really
Undercapitalized.
common aspect, and some of that is because sometimes it's hard to make a good guess of what some of the actual costs will be. But a really common one is, I think some people underestimate how hard it's going to be and how much time it's going to take and how much it's going to cost to get new customers. The example that comes to mind in that arena is the restaurant who opened up, and 2 years into their business, somebody comes in and says, "Did you guys just open? I didn't know you were here." And they're flabbergasted. They can't believe that could be the case. But
Okay.
yeah, but if you think about how you spend money and where you spend money, most of us are creatures of habit. We go to the same restaurants, we go to the same gas stations, the same grocery store, and it takes quite a bit for us to change those behaviors. So.
Well, then that leads into marketing.
Absolutely.
So you need to be proactive as a business owner and creative in getting people to change these patterns. So Trudy, what are a few things that you recommend?
Well, we have our local newspaper. We have.
Oh, what a great idea.
And we have, and there are so many local articles about businesses. I mean, I really do. I recommend the paper quite a bit. And then we have some local radio stations. We have all kinds of business and service organizations that are really helpful in the networking arena and getting the word out. And then some that are maybe more specific. If you were doing a winery, then you'd want to be in the Wine Grape Alliance or whatever. But I think especially for us in a smaller, more rural area, the networking is so important. And so there's so many places where you can do that.
So like a Chamber of Commerce mixer, go out and pass your
Exactly.
cards out. Is that one of the most effective ways, or is newspapers, or is Facebook? What's like the best bang for your buck or time?
I think you have to do all of them, and I'm glad you mentioned Facebook and web page, which we help people quite a bit with developing a web page, a website. So that's something we give workshops on, and we have it's still a 5-page, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we have a 5-page website that you can develop really pretty easily. It's
There's a template that
Template-based,
people can
thank you.
use so they don't have to learn programming language and can set up a simple basic
Oh, fantastic.
website
Okay.
pretty cost effectively.
And is there some kind of cost associated with that? Or?
Well, the cost is just to monthly host it, but those could be as cheap as $5 or $7 or $10 a month. So
very affordable.
very affordable.
Okay, and a lot of people, I mean, might say, "Oh, I can't do a website. You know, that would be a big thing." But if it's
Right.
all just made simple, you can drag and drop in and things like
Yeah,
that.
if you can
Exactly.
write out some words to describe what your business is, what makes you different, and include the basic things. How do they get a hold of you? Where are you? Some of those type of things. Most people with a little bit of work or could do something on their own.
Yeah, and
if they
if you-
needed just a basic business or website.
Oh, I was just going to add, if you have photos in the JPEG format, then you
Yeah.
can really drop your own photos in there too, and that's really helpful.
Why do we need a website as a business owner? Why is that important?
I feel like it's in large part just because of society going to digital ways to get information and digest things. Years ago, if people heard about your business and they wanted to check out to see if you were legitimate, they might look in the yellow pages to see if you
bet.
were in there, and that's some
bet.
perception of legitimacy. Today, everybody gets on their smartphone or their tablet or the computer and just searches for you. And if they find you, there's a little bit of validity that you exist and you're legitimate. And when they can't find you, then it at least raises the question,
Or they go to the
Okay.
yellow pages online.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
You
Yep.
still use the yellow pages. but
So is a
online.
is a Facebook page enough, or do you really need to have the Facebook and the website?
I think it depends on the type of business and what type of service you're doing. I mean, they're not, it takes a little bit to figure out how to do them, but neither one of them are really difficult or very expensive to do, so it's really not that hard to have both.
Okay. Okay.
But if somebody searches for you and they don't find you at all as a business, I think that's the worst case scenario. A Facebook page, if nothing else, would be better than nothing. A website, I'd put maybe one step above that.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can just Google someone's name and get the Facebook page. I think you can, but certainly if you have that website,
A lot of times you can if the names match up.
if it matches up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So definitely get both. It's not expensive, and you guys can help with at least the website side
Yes.
of things, right? Okay.
The other thing, if I could just add one,
You
is,
bet.
and I think people know this, but we're also getting to this point where, again, people never pick up a phone book anymore. They just type and look for something. So it's not just can they find you if they've heard of you, but people more and more are saying, well, I need to find a CPA and I'm in Calaveras County, or I'm in Stockton, or I'm in San Diego, or I want to find a good place that has this particular type of food. And so people are starting to look for things using those devices, and when people don't already have that type of service or it's new to them, that's how they look. And so it's not that expensive to be able to be found those types of ways. So I think that's another reason why it's important.
I met with a client this morning, and we did exactly that. We punched in, she's a local acupuncturist, and we punched that in, and it showed that she was listed in the yellow pages online, but there was nothing on Yelp, or her name didn't come up, her business name didn't come up just when we Googled. And so she was going to look into all of that because she's been established for a while, and
Right.
she should be pulled up. And
Right.
information that I don't think was super current did come up. So it was interesting because we just did it to see what would happen, and
Yeah.
didn't come up. And it started because a client of hers wasn't sure where she was, so he asked Siri, is it?
Siri, yes.
Siri.
yeah.
Yes.
And Siri didn't know where she was.
Oh,
and so
no.
that started our conversation this morning. And so
If Siri doesn't know, you are
I know. So we were right on it. So it is important. So
How does Siri know is my question, but
I know.
I don't know the answer.
Nate, we have about 5 minutes left, and
Okay.
I wanted you to hit me with some stats, which I think are really interesting, about how many businesses we have in the
Oh.
county.
Yeah, I looked up some stuff just before I came from the Census Bureau, and in Calaveras County, there's a little over 5,300 total businesses. Okay, that may sound like it's a little bit of a high number. When you look at the number of businesses that have a physical building, a storefront, a shop, something like that, it's a little under 1,000. So that means there's 4,300 that don't really have a storefront or a shop or something like that. So lots of businesses, kind of mobile, home-based, that type of thing. And then another number for Calaveras County is there's about 3,500 businesses that do not have any employees. So that means it's just the owner or husband and wife, maybe partners working in a business together. So lots of businesses are pretty small, just the owners or even just a few employees.
That's fascinating to me, but you said it's not uncommon.
It's not. Something like 80% of all the businesses in California have like either 9 or 10 employees or less. So
Wow.
yeah, the number of businesses, yeah, they're those smaller sizes is very significant.
Let me ask you this. What businesses are working right now? What new businesses are actually, do you see being successful?
I think there's at least finally starting to be a little growth again in some of the retail sectors. Certainly, the discretionary income businesses are still probably hurting a little bit, but they're starting to be a little bit back there. But the ones that are a little more staple are seeing some growth and starting to recover a little bit. I think for a lot of years, service businesses of all kinds have been a pretty steady or consistent growth industry or as a whole. And then in different areas, there might be other types of industries that are kind of going or not going.
What about Calaveras area?
Yeah, I think in Calaveras and Amador, and I've been talking about this with clients for a few years now, but the idea of kind of destination shopping and destination, so a variety of things to do within a small town. So, you know, you are in competition with other shops, but still the idea of attracting someone to come there because of all the things that are available there seems to work really well for the rural areas because then there's more to do than just one thing to go to. And I think some of the towns that have been incorporating that have seen success with it.
So collaborating with others, not just going at it on your own.
Right,
Yeah.
even town to town, even, you know, like for this side of the county, just going along Highway 49 or coming up Highway 4, kind of coordinating all the things you can do along the way.
Fantastic. I think we have Destination Angels Camp.
Yes.
Murphy's, not being named Destination Murphy's, but they have so many things to offer. It'd be nice to see some more towns do things like that, I can imagine, in these foothills for sure.
Yeah.
Once again, if people want to find out more, how do they do that? Website or phone number, anything like that?
Our website is sbdc.deltacollege.edu. Our phone number in Stockton is 209-954-5089.
And if they called you, they could get in touch with you, Trudy?
Yes.
Or?
They can.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope that people take advantage of this service because it certainly seems like a wonderful asset for the whole nation, really. So thanks for coming on and explaining this to our viewers. I appreciate it.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
time, Joel.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you for joining me on this edition of Inside View. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and I hope you join me next time.